So these Ya'juj and Ma'juj, they are dry and harsh in nature. And when they come out, they're going to come out so quickly and so fast that you will not be able to stand in front of them. You have to run away from them. And Ya'juj is a tribe, and Ma'juj is another tribe, but they are related. And they are actual human beings. Ya'juj and Ma'juj are human beings. They are tribes that actually exist on earth. They existed close to the time of Musa alayhi salam, in an era of a great king named Dzulkarnain. Anyone heard of Dzulkarnain? Dzulkarnain, the man of the two horns. He was called that name because he used to wear a hat that had two horns coming out of it. Dzulkarnain was an extremely powerful king, and he was a worshipper of Allah, a righteous, just Muslim king, among the best that ever existed on earth. And he had so much power, so much authority, that his kingdom reached, why do I say almost? Because there were parts of the world where civilization hadn't reached yet, as today. But whatever existed in that time, wherever civilization reached, Dzulkarnain had power to there, right to the end part of civilization. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about Dzulkarnain in Surah Al-Kahf. It speaks about Dzulkarnain as being that king. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes him, as I said, as a just and fair leader who used to say, whoever does good, then we will reward him. And whoever does wrong, then we will punish him a punishment in this earth, and in the hereafter will be punished by his Lord, a punishment that is unheard of. So he was very strict on laws that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent down. And he was very rewarding and generous for those who do good. So everybody loved him. And he brought justice this way. Very harsh on the wrong and very generous on the good. And Allah tells us about Dzulkarnain, describing his amount of kingdom, saying that, in a very allegorical, beautiful way of language, saying that Dzulkarnain, he reached a very far distance in land. He used to go around the whole world to see who is being oppressed, who is doing good to reward them, bringing justice between people. He used to physically go out with his army like that, looking everywhere as far as he can. That's what he spent his life in, traveling the world and applying justice and worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala everywhere he went. So Allah describes one of his journeys. He went one time to establish justice, and when he reached, Allah says in the Quran, حتى إذا بلغ مغرب الشمس وجدها تغرب في عين حمئة. When he reached the place of the setting of the sun, he found it setting in a murky pond or in a murky water. What does this mean? Now, there are non-Muslims out there who try to use this against us. They say, what's this Quran talking about science? How can a sun set inside of water when we know that the earth rotates around the sun? And how can a man reach the setting of the sun? The sun doesn't set, the earth rotates around. You can't really reach the sun. There's no such thing. What these miserable people don't understand is the language of the Quran. The Arabs at the time of the Prophet ﷺ understood it better than these miserable people. And if there was any problem with it, they would have beaten them to find a fault in the Quran. Trust you me. So these people come and use half-sucked, twisty English, and they try to explain the Quran through their miserable ways. The Quran here is talking allegorically, because the Quran addresses human beings. And when you address human beings, and especially the whole world, it has to address them in a way where everybody could understand simple language. Allah is saying allegorically in a beautiful speech that in two things. He reached a place where it looks like the sun is setting. It looks like that. It's like saying, oh, the sun set behind the mountain, behind the hill. If you go behind the hill, will you find the sun? No, we say it's set behind the sun, behind the mountain. Everybody uses that language. Or you say, oh, look at that rainbow. It starts from there and ends there. But it doesn't really end there. It doesn't even come on earth. So it's what the eye sees. Allah says, when he reached where it seemed like the sun was setting. In other words, Allah is telling us, Dzulkarnain reached a very, very far end of the world. He said he found it setting in a murky pond, meaning it looked like as if it was setting inside the ocean. And it looked murky to him. Because when the sun is setting, you could see a very strange appearance on the surface of the ocean. Allah called it Hami'ah. murky or a strange appearance or a foggy appearance. He found the sun setting there, meaning there was no more land beyond where he reached, meaning Dzulkarnain reached the farthest land where nobody could reach even further. There was no more civilization after there. That's what that verse is talking about. He said he found people there that could hardly understand normal speech. They were very primitive in speech. They said, Ya Dzulkarnain, O Dzulkarnain, they knew he was the king. Can you please help us? Ya'juj and Ma'juj, they are corruptors on earth. Now I want you to analyze with me over here. These people who are complaining to Dzulkarnain, they were very primitive in lifestyle and in language. So he reached the border of the world where civilization was so behind. And they were trying to explain to him about this other civilization that are even worse than them, that are even more primitive, worse and corruptive than these people that he just met. So he said, Oh Dzulkarnain, Ya'juj and Ma'juj are very corruptive on earth. They kill, they take, they steal, they do all these things. Can we give you some help, bring you some people, so that we can help you to make a barrier between us and them, so that they can't come to us and they can be cut off from the world. Then Dzulkarnain replies, he said, Allah has already given me enough power. I don't need your help. Thank you for offering. But what I want you to help me with is just a little bit of starting off the foundations of the wall. I'll make between you and them a wall. Atuni zubar al-hadid. Bring me some of your zubar al-hadid. It's a kind of metal, like brass, very strong metal, that can withhold any kind of environment, climate change. It doesn't rust very quickly. It doesn't rust at all, and it doesn't break. Zubar al-hadid. So it's the metal that cannot get rusted. So he built it in such a way that he ordered for them to blow heat. So he melted it and molded it in such a way that it became so solidified, so strong through heat and through steel, that he said, Hatta idha ja'alahu nara, he made it melting because of fire. He said, Atuni ufrigh alayhi qitra. Bring me this other type of material that I may add to it, qitra, that will make it extra strong. So the whole idea here, Allah is telling us that he built a wall or a barrier or a dam, something that was so strong, so impermeable, that nothing can reach and nothing can break it down anymore. No climate, no people, no weaponry, nothing. Allah says in the Quran, فَمَا اسْطَاعُوا أَن يَظْهَرُوهُ وَمَا اسْتَطَاعُوا لَهُ نَقْبًا. He said, no one was able to break through it and no one was able to overpower it. It was such a strong wall, impermeable to anything. And when Dzulkarnain looked at the people, they looked at this wall and they said, wow, this is a very strong wall. And Dzulkarnain wanted to teach them a lesson. Finally, he said, قَالَ هَذَا رَحْمَةٌ مِّن رَبِّي. He said, this is from the mercy of my Lord. What's the mercy here? That he allowed us to prevent you from the corruption of Ya'juj and Ma'juj. Then he said, فَإِذَا جَاءَ وَعْدُ رَبِّي جَعَلَهُ دَكَّاءَ وَكَانَ وَعْدُ رَبِّي حَقًّا. He said, now, this wall has been built there, it's strong. This is a mercy from your Lord for now. But when the promise of my Lord has arrived, Allah has decreed something that's going to happen. Allah will make this wall destroyed. He will destroy it. Dakka, meaning it will be level with the ground. وَكَانَ وَعْدُ رَبِّي حَقًّا. The promise of my Lord is truly going to come, no doubt. What is he saying here? He's saying that Ya'juj and Ma'juj will be blocked off the world, from the world, until a certain time that is going to come. Allah, it is only Allah who will destroy, who will allow for this wall to be destroyed, and when it is destroyed, this Ya'juj and Ma'juj will come out. Allah says, وَتَرَكْنَا بَعْضَهُمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ يَمُوجُ فِي بَعْضٍ وَنُفِخَ فِي الصُّورِ فَجَمَعْنَاهُمْ جَمْعًا. He said, and so we left them, Ya'juj and Ma'juj. We left them, and we left the people like this, in this way, Ya'juj and Ma'juj away from the people, and they living among one another. Allah says, but we will surely bring everyone, including Ya'juj and Ma'juj, everyone back when the trumpet is blown. So no one has been able to break through this wall ever since. And Allahu A'lam if anybody has ever reached that place. But if you want to know where it is, from the tafasir that I have read, and Allah knows best of course, they indicate that their position is somewhere near the upper part of the world, towards the North Pole. So towards the Russian areas in that sort of region, higher up towards the North Pole area. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best exactly where they are.